Welcome back. In this one, we'll start to talk about the images. One thing that I forgot to talk a little bit about in the previous video was that if you're changing the text color, we're just using black here at the moment, there is color here, and that's the fill. So the fill will let you change the color. Interestingly enough, if you call it if you want white, it's called paper here. So yeah, you've got that, and then you can come down and choose your colors and so on. Okay, so there's various ways of grabbing your color, just like sort of in Illustrator. But yeah, that's where it is there. I was also thinking this. I made it too small. I'm going to make it so that it does go onto 2 lines. There we go. Okay, putting an image in. So let's talk a little bit about that. Now, again, what you want to avoid here is copying and pasting. So maybe in a Word document, we would copy and paste it into a Word document here. Oftentimes you want them linked. So if you make a modification to that image, for example, then you don't have to go and copy and paste it again. It will just automatically update it. Now, having said that, you do have to be very careful that you don't go in and accidentally modify a document and then come back to your InDesign and everything's changed, right? So you have to be a little bit careful with that. But if you've got them sort of locked into one spot, and then you're careful, then having it linked lets you just update it, and then you don't have to copy and paste and so on. Anyways, so there's a couple ways to place these documents. Okay, so just like we would do with the text, we can place. Now, when you're sort of creating things like this, you don't want to accidentally have something selected. So if I grab my select tool and I clicked on here, right, I've got this selected. If I place it, it's going to place that image right into this text box right away. So the trick is to make sure nothing's selected. So just like in Illustrator, click off sort of your workspace here, click off to the side, and then nothing is highlighted. So again, File and place, sorry. And we're going to place this HP logo here. So I'm going to double click, and what you'll notice is that we have the place cursor with that graphic attached. Now we've got a choice of sort of things that we want to do here. If I just click anywhere, so if I'm not really concerned, I could click off here, just any place, and also I'll just click off here. It puts it in at its full size. And so maybe not too useful. I mean, you could go around just like you can in Illustrator and start changing. Well, I guess that didn't quite change the size there, but you can move it around and you could change the size as well. I think actually we have a little bit of problem with that. We'll talk about changing the size of these as we go. But you're going to have some issues in terms of placement if you do it that way. So what we'll do is we'll do it a better way. However, we'll take a little break from doing that just to sort of say, well, ooh, why is this so pixelated, right? It doesn't look very good. Terrible, terribly jagged edges here. What's happened is that InDesign, to perform well, has reduced the quality of these images so that as you're scrolling around, it doesn't sort of hang up and stuff. If you're finding that you don't have any quality issues, you can go under View. There is Display Performance, and you can see here it's typical display. You can set that to high quality display, and as long as the computer is running fine, yeah, I mean that's going to be fine there, right? Good. So let's just, I guess we'll just get rid of that. So I'm just going to see if I can just delete it. I don't want to go, yeah, so there, just deleted it and it's gone. So let's place it again, but this time, instead of just clicking, what I'm going to do is click and drag a box. Now, it will conform to the, proportions, so I can't sort of create any size box, but I could create a little box there, and then when I drag, it places it in nicely into that box. So that's useful. Now, just to show you the problem, right, if I didn't click off to the side and I want to bring in an image, so File, Place, and we're going to bring in this Making Bouquet, and you can see it now goes right into that selected thing there. So if I didn't want it there, right, I got to make sure, and now actually I can see it. It's in that place cursor. So that's nice, actually. I didn't realize it would do that. I mean, obviously, if I press Escape, it's gone, and I could place it again. And so with nothing selected, oops, I guess it was still selected there, sorry. Let me just double check. So press Escape, double click, so nothing is selected. File, Place, and then making bouquet. Now you can see just like before, it's here. So what I'm going to do is come up to this top left, I think, if I can get it in there. Click it in. Oops, it didn't quite work. Actually, let me just try clicking on this box. So actually, this is what I want. Click on this whole box here. I didn't click on the right spot. And I'm going to place it right in there. So place and put it in. And so now it's kind of nicely placed in that sort of panel. Okay, so that was that whole panel there that we've placed it in. And we've got the product overview. We've got this little logo that's sort of sitting on top. We can modify this picture and so on. And that's what we'll do next. Now, moving around documents and items on the page is a little bit tricky because it's not quite what you might think. There is a frame, and then there's sort of the image inside the frame. So we've got this selection tool, and if I click on this picture here and sort of start to move around, so I've actually selected on the picture here. If I select, let me just go back. If I select the frame, then I start moving the frame around, okay? So there is a difference there. Now the other thing is there's this little circle that pops up. And this little circle here is called the content browser. And so if I sort of click on that, now where has it gone here? There it is. I should be able to, so the content grabber, I should be able to click on that. There we go. And I can move the image around. And what's kind of nice is it gives you that little bit of a ghosting effect outside of the frame so that you can kind of get an idea of what's on the right side of your picture, what's on the left side, even though it's not going to be visible, so that you could place that better. So whatever you think looks good here. I mean, did you want more of the scissors into there? Or you want that flower centered, right? Up to you. Okay, so that is one option, right, for placing it. So you can grab that content browser, or you can double click in there, and then you are moving the picture. What's nice about that content browser, or sorry, I want to say content browser, content grabber, compared to just doing this, is that it doesn't give you that ghosting effect. So if you are on that circle, right, and then you start moving, it was showing me before. Now it's disappeared. Interesting. Learning InDesign as I go here. So yeah, but you can see I am moving it around with that content. I bet you if I did this and then came to this, no, it's disappeared, that ability to do that for some reason. Anyways, you can, with that content grabber, you can move that image around, whatever you think looks best there. Okay, now this we were sort of looking at this before. Sometimes you can have a little bit of a problem. So if you want to say, oh, I want this smaller, and you sort of drag it in. Unfortunately, what we've done is drag the frame in. We haven't actually made the graphic smaller. Just a side note too, obviously you can rotate these as well. No problems there. So if that happens, if that graphic gets smaller, usually what you'll do is come over to the frame fitting and you can try to fix that up. So that frame fitting, it's still a little bit off there with that first one. I think this second one here proportionally, there we go. It's all sort of nicely in there inside the frame. So you can see that it's placed. And again, that little content thing pops up. So you could move this around, right? Whatever you want inside that frame. Don't think we need to. All right, moving this object, right? So we grab the frame and we'd want to move the frame around. Now we might want to put this in here. It's still a little big. I'm going to make that a bit smaller. And notice how it, you can hold Shift key to keep the proportion if you want, or you could change it any size. I'm going to hold the Shift key to keep that proportion. Just make it a bit smaller. Again, I've lost it, so I'm going to click on the frame fitting, and there it is there. And maybe I want the text to wrap around. So you can see here that it's just sort of on top. It's not ideal. We want to do the wrap text that we do in so often in Word, and that's available here in the window. You can bring up your text wrap. And so with this typical things here, right, no text wrap is what's on, you can click wrap around the bounding box, and now the text will, you can sort of move it around just like you've sort of experienced in Word. Okay, so you can place that in whatever location you want. Do a couple other little things here just to fix this up. I think we've covered everything. Close that up there. Highlight that. I'm going to get rid of that one. We didn't really need that there. Product overview. Yeah, I mean, let's just change up this text color perhaps. So if I've got that what's interesting is, right, you can't, it's not going to change the text here, so you do have to grab that type tool. And again, T, right, so is your quick selection. So once I've highlighted those, we can go in. I'm just going to choose a nicer color than that. So I don't know, we've got all these different colors, swatches, colors, that's interesting. Apply to text, CMYK, swatch view, color swatches. I'm just going to pick a sort of a red here. Now it's interesting, I have to sort of figure out why this is only showing up in monochrome. If I put a different color on there, I'm sure it hasn't gone, oh, and then it lets you modify that color there. So interesting. So I think this is a product of being a CMYK, a print document, that we've got that there. I think I'm just going to go for a sort of a golden brown there. Click off that. That looks pretty good. And product overview. So if I click off that, yeah. So I think that's good for the moment. We'll come back and talk about how you could sort of send this off to be printed. If you want, you could play around and put something in here, but we'll sort of work with this and just sort of finish up this document in the next video.